So I'm full of histamines from cutting long grass, so I'll do my best to share this, to just make this a brief introduction to something I'd like you to listen to. I was listening to Media Roots Radio on SoundCloud with Abby Martin and Robbie Martin, and they were describing what's going on right now in Iraq with protesters being sniped, hundreds really. And all they're doing really is protesting for better conditions, basically. It's really disturbing, and as if these poor people haven't been through enough, and Western imperialism is mostly to blame for this, as if they haven't been through enough. It's really sort of awful, and the mainstream media, of course, is just ignoring it, and that's why it's so important that we share this information. So please listen to the whole Media Roots Radio podcast episode, because there's lots of interesting information in there. But I'm going to share with you just a 6-minute section from Media Roots Radio with Abby Martin and Robbie Martin on what's going on right now in Iraq. Thanks for watching. My name's Trish Roberts. Stick with it. Fain signals from Vega. Till next time. Bye for now.
Lebanon, tons of protests which forced the prime minister to resign after only 2 weeks. Very interesting. I'd like to get more into that later. I don't know enough to comment more on that. But Iraq has been a complete shit show. I mean, I guess you could say since the early 90s or even prior to that. But what the U.S. did, completely obliterating Iraq, it's just been a devastating situation, exacerbated, of course, by the 2003 invasion and subsequent occupation that has never ended. Trump went into Iraq and basically doubled the amount of troops that Obama had left there. And all the troops he's rerouting from Syria are just sent to Iraq to continue this perpetual occupation. But aside from that, as liberals continue to rehabilitate George W. Bush, which is another thing we didn't talk about because it happened when I was gone on the tour, this Ellen DeGeneres rehabilitation of George W. Bush and all of these people just bending over backwards to apologize for her and him, a horrific bloodletting is taking place in devastated Iraq, where, this is a U.S. installed government still, and, quote, anonymous snipers stationed all over Baghdad and beyond are wantonly executing unarmed protesters. The videos are absolutely horrific. People literally standing there with flags. I mean, like even more extreme than Gaza, because it's just really, really horrifying, because you could just see them just opening fire with machine guns on crowds of protesters. Wow. And it's killed more than 300 people. The government has actually blocked the number of people who have died. And this is not just clashes. This is people who are getting sniped and shot down. Also shooting people trying to rescue the wounded, as well as multiple reports of kidnapping medical workers. Who's doing this? The protests, that's the thing, is that it's government militias and, quote, anonymous snipers. There was just this kind of Euromaidan style. Yeah, no, it's really scary. This big leak from The Intercept has claimed that it's Iran influence in Iraq. I was about to read this big report in preparation for this podcast, and then I saw that Murtaza Hussein was the one who was on Democracy Now! Talking about this. And so I thought, I don't know if he's someone that I really trust on this, but I'm still going to read this report and see what exactly has come out. But it seems like it's a Sunni Shia thing where, I don't know, the Iranian allegiance is now being painted as Iran is somehow manufacturing all of the shit in Iraq. I tend to not believe that. I feel like that's an irresponsible narrative, but I'm going to have to look more into that and see what's going on. But as far as we know, it's the government. It's the government and proxies working with the government to basically shut down and put fear in the hearts of these protesters who are totally unarmed and literally calling for the most basic services like electricity, water, housing, and jobs. It's turned into, of course, trying to get the government to step down. Muqtada al-Sadr is part of the ruling class that was brought forward by the U.S. occupation in 2003. He's still part of the current Islamic government. And, I heard a lot of people giving interviews about this, and they just said it's just such a extreme disparity of wealth and power between the green zone, all of the people who are protected, the elites, and everyone else. who's just being brutalized. There's this makeshift Occupy style encampment in the middle of Tahrir Square. A huge building was taken over where they're literally just providing like services, kind of like Occupy, healthcare, housing, water, and electricity to the people who are just protesting. But it's just really, really sad because we are not hearing one peep about this on the corporate media or from Trump, essentially, because the oil never stopped flowing. So of course he doesn't give a shit. You know, no one gives a shit about these protests that are absolutely brutal, among the worst crackdown in the entire world in terms of like a militarized police state crackdown on armed protests. This is happening in Iraq with not a word from major media corporations because, again, there's no resources to be had. There's nothing to gain from talking about it. And the U.S., of course, has never really left. So that's it in a nutshell. I'll keep following the story, but I just felt really just helpless and devastated looking at these videos and absolutely sickened that this is going on and just thinking how much better off Iraq would be if the U.S. never did anything to it.
Yeah, really, really sad. I don't really have much more to say about it, but I'm really, really skeptical of most of Murtaza's sort of slant in his coverage. And just his general political worldview. Yeah, that The Intercept is not what I thought it was going to be. You know, I would have never thought in a million years when The Intercept first opened that it would be running lengthy reports about how Iranian forces are trying to like snipe down Iraqi protesters in Iraq. Like, it's just so surprising. It just surprises me that would be something that we'd be spending a lot of their resources and time on.